Over the next 2 decades, an estimated $124 trillion will change hands from one generation to the next. Yet for the person receiving the inheritance, the first challenge usually isn't investing the money, it's figuring out what to do next. Today, we will walk through the first steps to take before making a major financial decision.
Welcome to a Wiser Retirement Podcast, where we cut through the noise and bring you real, honest conversations about investing, retirement, and building lasting wealth. No sales pitches, no gimmicks, just insights to help you stop guessing and start planning your financial future.
Welcome to a Wiser Retirement Podcast. I'm Casey Smith. Today, I'm joined with financial advisor William Metcalf. We'll be discussing when you inherit money, what should you do first? Hey, William.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good?
Yeah.
You having a good summer?
Yeah, I am. How about you? Do you tired of horses yet?
I just came back from Maryland with my daughter and one of her horses. She went it to the Young Rider Championship. This is her third year she's qualified, and 2 years she got third place, which is actually they do medals, gold medal, gold, silver, and bronze just for this show. That's not normal. And so they used to be called the Junior Olympics, Equine Olympics or something like that a long time ago. Now it's just Young Rider Championship. So she did well. So she does English eventing, and in that space there's 5 levels. So she is at the 3-star level. There's a 4-star level, not for juniors, that's adults, and then 5-star level. There's only 2 5-star tracks in the U.S. It's Maryland and Kentucky Horse Park.
Oh wow!
The rest of them are in Europe.
Oh wow! Yeah.
So and even the Olympics is usually a 4-star level track.
Okay.
So 5-star is it's a big deal. There's the Kentucky 3-day, probably 16,000 people come out to watch that. But for her, being 18 years old to be at 3-star is really special.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think they shipped in like 6th place, so top 10 finish, which is good. They invite you form a team in your region, so there's like 8 regions.
Okay.
And there's 5 people in the team. They drop 1 score, so they take best 4 out of the 5.
Okay.
So the team area 3, which is the Southeast, they got 2nd overall.
Oh great!
So she'd get a medal for that.
Yeah.
So it's just it's 5 days, and anybody who probably most people don't know this world at all, but you have the flat work the first day. There's like the horse movement. I think Snoop Dogg was famous in the Olympics by saying, "Look at that horse's crib walking." That's it's just my reel anyway. So there's the dressage portion. So it's a flat work, and then the second day is cross country. That's the for the adrenaline junkies.
Yeah.
huge shelves and all over the woods and in the fields and stuff that they jump. 3-star has 5 more jumps than the rest of them. So it's a bit of an endurance built in. And her horse, Henry, who's a 9-year-old Irish sport horse, he's just got to build more muscle. So he gets a little tired near the end. So it's always about making time and then not refusing jumps. Right.
Yeah.
So I think she was in 11 seconds of the time, which is decent. Nobody made time because the course was pretty tough. And then the last day is jumping the poles. You see that pretty often in show jumping, which is another discipline in itself, but they bring that into eventing as well. So it's 3 different phases, and those phases take 5 minutes each. Well, cross country is probably more like actually the optimal time is 5 minutes and 42 seconds. So under 6 minutes, where most people, you go to a baseball game, kids baseball game, there for a couple hours, you go home.
Yeah.
But then you just care for the horse and everything. So, and the first day is just a vet check. That's all you do. Yeah. Vet just comes and says, "Yeah, you're qualified. Horse is sound. You're qualified to do this event."
Yeah.
So I do a lot of work when I'm gone because there's just so much downtime for the dad.
Right.
Caitlin always finds things to do. But anyway, coming off of that, and then a week prior to that, my son was in the Georgia Amateur down at Sea Island, and I was his caddy. So that
sounds fun.
And I don't get to do much work then because I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Carrying a golf bag. Actually, I did the practice round this year with him. And I actually had blisters on my feet, partially because I had new shoes for the event. But that I was exhausted. I was thinking you guys wouldn't recognize me when I came back. I was I feel like half the size I was when I showed up down there.
Lost weight, got tan. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't eat much.
Yeah.
It was too hot. You're just like, I don't want to eat anything. I just want to drink tons of water.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's been a good couple of weeks, and I'm happy to be back in the office. Maybe someday I'll get my own vacation.
Yeah,
Do
that would probably
that-
be nice. Yeah,
do things that I actually
Yeah.
want to do.
Yeah,
The golf part's fun. But sitting by a pool somewhere sounds pretty good too. I don't get to do that very often.
yeah, just chilling.
All right. So yeah, I came back and like, who are all these people, man? We got 4 interns here.
Yeah,
There was a total of 16 employees. If you add the interns, we're at 20 headcount
Yeah.
right now. So that's crazy.
yeah, it's crowded.
Feels a little crowded.
Yeah.
I used to have an extra space, some elbow room. Good grief.
No,
All right.
we like having them here though.
Yes, we
It's been
do.
a good time.
Absolutely. All right, let's get down to the podcast topic. Inheriting money. I think that this is always important. It's kind of funny what people think of is I inherited a large sum of money. That happened to me a couple of years ago. The lady just wanted to meet after 5 o'clock. She's like, I inherited a very large sum of money and I've got to talk to somebody about this. And I was like, oh, okay, no, everyone else wants to go home, but I'll stick around and happy to talk with you and see how we can help you.
Yeah,
And it was $10,000.
yeah, Right.
And I was trying to keep a straight face, like, wow, okay, so if this is a substantial amount of money, like what's going on in your personal life?
yeah,
Let's not focus on the inheritance. Let's talk about you.
right.
And of course, there was tons of debt and all kinds
Yeah.
of stuff. So, but certainly for our clients and their children, a lot of them have what we consider a substantial amount of money, and you ideally you have your own financial plan in place, and your parents did, and you have your own estate planning, and they have their own estate planning, and everything just and everyone communicates, and there's lots of transparency and organization. And
Yep.
everything just kind of flows through with a purpose.
Yep.
And then we wake up to reality, and that's not how
Right.
that's how most people don't do things. We still have a generation of people that are secretive about their money,
Yeah.
so you really don't know what's out there until you're in charge of it all of a sudden. So, all right. So why does all this matter, William?
Well, obviously, like if there's an inheritance happening, typically that happens when somebody passes away, for the most part. So there's emotions involved, all the human things involved, family things involved, family dynamics if you're not an only child or, the only beneficiary. So that sometimes creates, different complications and dynamics and all that, right? And then, I just think even like with that $10,000 example, it's like when you inherit what to you is a large sum of money, it creates a lot of anxiety, and you want to make sure, for most people, you want to make sure that you do the right thing with the money, and you might just not be sure what to do with it.
Yeah.
Or what direction to go. You might have a general idea, but it's like, okay, what's the best thing to do?
Well, there's different types of people, and you can decide if it's good or bad as a listener, or indifferent, I guess. I've had clients sit in my office and say that they have some health issues, and it's not fair that the younger siblings are going to be able to inherit money someday and enjoy it, where they may not get to enjoy it for as long, and they want their share immediately
Mhm.
while the parents are alive.
Yeah.
So you can process that. Then there's been other people who inherited assets and didn't touch them, just left them there. They cleaned up the estate, but are like, I don't want to feel like that I'm grabbing for money.
Mhm.
So they just left it there for years.
Oh, wow.
Invested.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all part of their plan, invested, but they were not going to touch it because that's mama's money. And we would never go after that. 3 siblings, exact same concept.
Yeah.
And I think what kind of helped drive that is that they had seen other families fighting tooth and nail to get to it as fast as possible, and already had it spent
Mhm.
before parents passed away. And they were like, we are not that. We will leave this money here, and it'll just grow, and it'll be there for us way down the road.
Yeah.
So, obviously there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
There's probably a balance between those two stories.
Yeah.
though, somewhere in there. Right.
Right.
But I think it's, you have to you take the assets, and you really should just go back to your own financial plan and accelerate it
Right.
is typically what you do. But I would say don't confuse receiving money with the need to immediately make all these big financial decisions.
Yeah.
You can be a lot like the second family and pause, think through things. Nothing's on fire.
Yep.
Get things organized. You should have things collected and organized, or maybe even dispersed. That's fine. As if you're the executor of the estate, absolutely, disperse assets, but you don't need to hurry. I got to get a hold of this money.
Right. I got to do something with it or whatever, or quit my job, or, start paying things off as one that people talk about, or, buying the, huge, lake house on Lake Oconee or whatever.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot of different things that you may think of when you think of even your situation, like what would you do if you were inheriting something? If you had a windfall, what would you do with that money?
There's a few things you don't do.
Yeah.
We can talk about that. I see people that they'll quit their job immediately.
Yeah.
I had one lady do that who I was like, this is not a large, she wanted to retire.
They'll schedule a meeting with you, but they've already made the decision.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I met the daughter because the mom passed away. She was a client and she had quit her job. I was like, this is less than $1 million. Like,
yeah,
to her, that was a lot of money. And she's like, I can retire now. Right. And I wanted to say no, but she'd already quit her job.
Yeah.
So we eventually said, hey, you should consider going back to work. This is why.
Yeah.
But we had to go through, this is how money works.
This is how much you can live on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Paying off everything without a plan. So people get money and they immediately start just going to eliminate debt. That's typically my go-to is how can we free up cash flow? Sometimes family is like, well, I don't want my parents to pay for my credit card debt. I'm going to pay for that myself. And this money will be separate. But sometimes we want to pay off houses and people will struggle with the same thing. Well, this is my parents' money. What is it they want me to do with this money? And I'm like, well, they're providing you a house. Right.
Yeah.
So I think they would like that. And also you're just reinvesting in real estate. It's not like you went on a big trip and it's just gone.
Right. Well, and it depends on, again, the surrounding situation too. Cause like if you're doing everything that you should be doing and you have savings and, investments and all of that, then that's a great decision. But also the flip side is like, if you're doing this, just because it's your first thought, you might end up house poor.
Yeah.
So that's like the other side of that too.
Exactly.
Which is why you just, you don't want to just do it immediately. Right.
Making large purchases. This kind of fall, it's not one large purchase. It was many. I did not work with this person. This was a sibling of a client of ours. And when they inherited assets, it was a large amount. I'd say a couple $1 million each. The sibling started taking big vacations and they didn't just fly first class on Delta. They signed up for NetJets.
Oh man. Yeah.
Within, I think about 3 years, all the money had been spent.
Yeah.
So it took the inheritance down to zero just through NetJet subscriptions and big home rentals. That was not normal part of their lifestyle.
Yeah. That's where I feel like if you're the one leaving, an inheritance, you want to make sure that, your beneficiaries are not, this isn't going to be like a lottery effect where it's like, oh, I got this big windfall and it's like, you weren't expecting it or thinking about it. And, you haven't helped get them to the point where they're ready for that.
Yes.
So that's the flip side of that. I would say is you just need to make sure that you're having these conversations and, what this is for.
We're starting to do that as a firm now.
Right.
As I see my clients age, they've been with me here for 20 something years in some cases. I'm offering to work with the children and not in some cases, discounting our fee, our financial planning only fee. Because a lot of times we don't need to manage assets for the kids, but they just need a plan.
Right.
They don't even have like wills or power of attorney or medical directives.
Right.
They're in not a good position to be inheriting assets.
Exactly.
So that's something we've been doing recently. And I've talked with Kate. She's our director of marketing, even about putting a program together for the children of clients where they feel welcomed into the firm. Because I feel like that's part of our job as advisors is to make sure that we're being good stewards into the next generation. Exactly. Or if there's a problem, maybe we can identify it and say, hey, we should make some changes here.
Yeah.
Not back reporting back to the parents necessarily, but just in talking to the next generation.
Right.
Investing all the funds at once. Sometimes I see that it's like they start saying, oh, we're going to buy, individual stocks, or the worst thing is, the financial advisor for the person who passed away starts pushing annuities.
Yeah.
Because they can get an annuity sale out of it.
Yeah.
So I see that sometimes. That's pretty sad.
$5 million, whole life. Cash rider, all the things.
Yeah. All the things that benefit the advisor do absolutely nothing for the person buying it. Other than, I guess, giving them life insurance, which is probably, they probably did need in our theoretical
possible
example.
Yeah.
Acting on advice from friends on social media. This is on our common mistake thing. That's happened here recently in our firm. Somebody was like, well, I've gotten a, X% rate of return. It's half of what my friend is getting.
Mm-hmm.
And I started looking into it, and it was a lower rate of return, but there was a very good reason for it. Half their account was in cash, and it was in cash because there's a large purchase coming up.
Right.
And we were not to invest that money because of this large purchase.
Right.
So really their rate of return is exactly what, quote, their friend had, which is probably over a whole year. And our return, they'd only been here for like 9 months.
Right.
So in the end, they actually were doing annualized. They were doing better than their friend.
Right.
And when you have cash in your portfolio, that's going to create a drag. But if the market had been down, they would have looked a lot better than their friend. Right.
Yeah.
So it's you have to be really careful about back of the napkin math and water cooler talk, and no one's going to tell you.
Another example of that too. And I've had a client that used it actually really well and used it to make very informed questions. Mm-hmm. So they knew what they didn't know, and they kind of used it that way. But there's a lot of people out there that I've even seen try to make a whole financial plan and estate plan scenario, and it just doesn't understand your situation or your context. It's just basically just repeating what it sees. So it's giving you general advice, but it's kind of similar to having a friend that maybe doesn't understand the full picture.
Not all financial advice is created equal. Available now, Everything Your Financial Advisor Won't Tell You, an eye-opening book that reveals what's really happening inside the financial industry and what it takes to build a plan that actually works. Because what you don't know could be costing you.
So let's say you're the executor of an estate. So not only are you inheriting money, you're now in charge of everyone else's.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's walk through real quickly, the first 30 days, what you should be doing as an executor.
Yeah. Definitely understand the estate. So what is being dispersed, what you're inheriting, or if there's multiple beneficiaries, what you're basically assisting them in inheriting, what type of investments or assets they are. So, cash, what, maybe IRAs, maybe brokerage accounts, maybe, real estate assets, maybe annuities, like you mentioned earlier, maybe a share of a business, maybe it's a private investment that spits out K1s. There's a lot of different stuff that you could be inheriting. And obviously understanding where it is, how it's titled, how it's passing is all very important.
Basically taking inventory is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Obviously if they're, depending on what the structure of the estate is, or really any structure of the estate, you want to understand the documents that are on file. So, whether it's passing, via will, obviously retirement accounts are passing outside of that most likely, depending on the beneficiary situation. And then, if it's a trust, that's a different situation there as well. But just understanding what the estate structure actually is.
Revocable living trust documents, you need original documents. You need to really hunt those down. Beneficiary forms, account statements, property records, tax records. These are all things that you should gather to create an inventory of what the assets are. This is outside of, personal property, obviously. Mm-hmm. I will say, flip this for a second. We're talking about the executor doing these things. You should set your executor up for success. We keep seeing new clients that have, I'm not exaggerating, I think you had one recently, it was 50 different accounts
Yeah. If it wasn't 50, it was close, and it was pretty
So
rough.
there's just tons of brokerage accounts. None of them super large either. Just kind of, I mean, it was a large total.
Yeah.
Right. But everyone, you should just have one Roth. You should have one IRA. You should have one brokerage account that's either titled in your revocable living trust or it's held jointly with your spouse and has a transfer on death, a TOD attached to it.
Right.
You should have one or two, or one checking account, one or two savings accounts, maybe a high yield savings account and maybe a smaller savings account that's attached to your checking so you can move money at the last second.
Yeah.
So I just had to do this for my son recently. He called me up because Dad, I need $100. I said, you get an allowance. And I figured this day would come, right? Well, what happened was he uses our flight path account. He saves into the investment account there.
Mm-hmm.
And we also puts money into the savings account. Well, he's been working. So he's been putting all his money into his high yield savings because he gets a higher yield there.
Right.
But he didn't have enough money in his checking account or his bank savings account. And it's going to take 2 days for it to transfer back over. And he needed gas.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, again, this is a barely working young man, right? So I said, you treat $100 as your minimum in your checking account.
Yeah.
You need to have $500 as your minimum in your savings account, and then put the rest of your savings in your high yield.
Yeah.
And then
I had to learn that lesson too. I had one or two like times where I overdrafted. Thankfully I had savings at the same bank. So they covered it from that, but it was still like, kind of a scary moment, but but this gotta learn that.
But this is all people need. You don't need to have multiple checking accounts. I mean, I have multiple LLCs. And they all live at one bank, right? I would never collect bank accounts. Of course, I'm also OCD on order. Everything has to be very orderly in my life and very orderly within my business. And so I'm more apt
checklists and
exactly.
Very clean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes things happen, and I'm like, this SpaceX IPO looks pretty good, but I didn't do it. You know why I didn't do it? Because I have to open up a separate bank. I have to open up a separate account.
Yeah.
I was like, well, Betterment doesn't take, or this flight path doesn't take individual stocks. I'd have to, it's like, it's going to end up in the index fund eventually. Everybody's going to win.
Yeah. You'll miss out on the crazy volatility that's probably going to happen over the next year.
Keep things very tight and organized. You don't need to diversify your brokerage accounts. Some people think that you got to diversify you got to have, well, if one goes out of business, I have access to all these others. Charles Schwab, Fidelity, these people are
right. They've got SIPC insurance and Lloyd's of London insurance on top of that.
I doubt any of our listeners are going to exceed the SPIC plus the Lloyd's insurance that they purchase on their accounts.
Yeah.
So if they go out of business, I'm not worried about that. If you're worried about like the apocalypse happening or something, then that's like gold buried in your backyard. That has nothing to do with any of this. Right?
Yeah. Storable food or whatever.
Right. Exactly. So just keep things neat and tight, because, if you have to go, be the executor in someone's account and they have 12 checking accounts and they've got 10 brokerage accounts, that's that much more paperwork that you have to contend with. So there's just no rhyme or reason to it. Some people say, well, if I do this, I get a higher yield over here. I don't know. Again, how much extra income are you really getting on a 1/10% or 1/4% really? Yeah.
It depends on the client, but there's times where it may make sense, but for most people, it's like, this might be like, $10 difference in a year, $50 difference in a year.
Exactly.
It just depends.
So going back into the topic, you want to write everything down on a spreadsheet and start collecting paperwork. You may have to call the companies and say, I need a beneficiary form or a transfer form. You need your death certificate ready to go to these different organizations. But prep the paperwork. Don't rush getting things out, especially you have to go through the probate process. Just because you could have a creditor on the other end that's wanting money. Yeah. So you need to collect all these things. I think one thing that we will say that tax wise, and I get this a lot, and it's a fair question. How much inheritance tax are you going to owe? So let's be really clear that each spouse gets a $15 million plus exemption right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be 30
federally,
plus,
right?
Federally, 30 plus $1 million before you owe any death tax to the federal government.
Yep.
Now, if you live in the South, there's really not any death tax on the southern states.
Right.
If you're north of us, New York, New Jersey.
Yeah, I list a few as Pennsylvania, Kentucky, actually, which
Yeah.
that's kind of surprised me. But yeah, there's a couple where they have inheritance taxes.
So you should move.
Definitely need to think through that one. Yeah.
But yes, there could be state tax owed there. So you might need to. I didn't realize Kentucky was on that one.
I didn't either until I researched it. And some of obviously it's different for each state, but some of their exemption levels or whatever they call it, it might not always be called exemption. They're actually a lot lower than the federal one.
Oh yeah.
And so
correct.
that's another thing
like
too.
3 million in some cases.
Yeah. Or 7, I think, for New York or something like that. So definitely something to pay attention to.
And then if you have the chance, if you have the chance to make a change before someone passes away, if they live in Florida, California, Nevada, Texas, you really want to have your assets titled in a revocable living trust.
Right.
I'm helping with a probate case now in Florida, and the attorney gets 3% of whatever the value is that goes to probate.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a big
It's
number.
hefty. Yeah.
So you could save the estate 3% by creating a revocable living trust. In this particular case, the revocable living trust would have been way cheaper than what they're going to pay the attorney.
Yep.
We know could have state tax. If you're in Georgia, you don't have that. You know that the federal number is very high. When you pass away, let's talk about inherited brokerage accounts. Anything you have in that brokerage account is going to step up in basis.
Yeah. And we have a lot of great videos that explain this too. So you can go back without having to listen to the whole podcast. But basically it's, what you paid for. So say you bought the stock. I'm going to use stocks as an example. You buy it for 1,000. It grows to 2,000 in total value. So that means that your gain is 1,000. So that's what the portion that you pay tax on. You're not paying tax on the basis that you basically purchased that investment for. But in a inheritance situation, you're getting a step up in cost basis, which means if whoever the decedent is the technical term, the person that passed away, if they purchased the stock for 1,000, but it's valued at 2,000 when they pass away, then the basis gets stepped up to 2,000. So you as the beneficiary, you're not going to pay tax if you sell that's holding, as long as it's around 2,000, right? Or, at or below 2,000. So, that's an important thing. And that's honestly a very powerful thing. So, that's a good reason to pass taxable assets to your beneficiaries if you have that, option available to you. That includes
real estate as well.
Yes. Any type of capital asset is included under that.
Now your IRAs are done a little differently.
Right. So those still are subject to ordinary income tax.
Not the Roths, just the
right. Correct.
IRA.
Just the traditional IRAs. And then if that decedent had started RMDs, that means that you're going to have to take money out every year under that schedule. And then you have to withdraw for non-spouse beneficiaries, meaning, basically anybody else. You're going to have to withdraw that within 10 years of that person's date of death.
Yep.
So, that's another thing that for some clients that have large traditional IRAs and say you're in a higher tax bracket, that could be, slightly, maybe problematic is the wrong way to put it, but it is something you want to take note of and be aware of for sure. And it's something that, if you have an advisor, that you can kind of help plan around and decide how to handle that.
Life insurance proceeds are typically tax-free. Real estate, we just talked about that. Also add annuities. If they have annuities and you're inheriting an annuity, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, annuities are taxed at regular income.
Yeah.
The gains.
Yep.
So that they'll try to get you to roll that into another annuity. You don't want to do that. But annuities, again, benefit the person selling it and the company. It's not a good vehicle for inheritance, which is funny because they sell them as this is great for taxes because annuities defer the tax. Well, they defer it into the next generation. That's all they do. You pay less tax, yes, but then the next generation has to pay a lot of tax.
Yeah.
And I will say that tax advice is very specific to the individual person.
Yes,
every
true.
family is going to be a little bit different. So you want to sit down with your financial advisor to understand the tax consequences of inheriting assets.
Yeah.
It may vary depending on what it is that you're inheriting, what asset you're inheriting.
Yeah. What type of asset, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Big decisions that you want to make before investing anything is really, I go back to looking at your own financial plan.
Yeah.
I think, there's an emotional side to this. So what do you want to spend the money on? One thing I'll add, I get this not from the people inheriting assets, but the people who know their assets will be inherited someday.
Right.
They say, well, what if my kids get divorced?
Mm-hmm.
And I want, how do I make sure this money goes along with the kids? And there's a couple of things. One is the law is really set up that assets follow the bloodline. So if I inherited assets from a family member, I would keep those assets in my own name and not jointly held.
Right. Commingle.
Do not commingle an inherited asset with your marital assets. If you keep it in your own name and there were to be a divorce down the road, you can clearly show the paper trail of this came from mom.
Right.
And this is mine and it's separate from our marital assets.
Right.
And that will last forever. There's no timeline on that. You don't need a prenup or postnup or anything like that to cover inherited assets.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as you throw that into your joint checking account or a joint brokerage account, or you add a person to it, then it becomes marital assets. I mean, not be that big a deal to you, but it is something to think about. That's how you keep them. That's how you keep it all separate.
Right. Yeah. And if you're on the, I guess the pre-inheritance side of things, leaving things in trust is another way that you can set that up.
Yep.
Just as a note, but I know we've got other podcasts on that, so I won't go into detail there, but that is another option.
Yeah. And then otherwise, I would say, beyond the emotional part of this is mom's money or dad's money, and this is what I want to do with it. If you just go back and apply it to your overall financial plan. Now, as you apply it, you're bringing it into the marriage at this point. So
right. It's
no longer protected, but that's fine. Hopefully everyone has a solid marriage and not worried about it. But the first thing I go back to the kind of what I call the rules of financial planning.
Mm-hmm.
Number one is, do you have any stupid debt?
Yeah.
And it sucks to have to use inheritance to pay off Amex and Visa credit cards at 30% interest, but that's probably the best thing to do. And make sure you don't get yourself in that position ever again.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
That's the biggest part, right? Because if you pay it off and then you're there 5 years from now again, then you didn't really accomplish anything.
And second part is, do you need to use this inheritance to create an emergency reserve for yourself
mm-hmm.
that you work hard never to touch? The next thing would be, should this inheritance be here to supplement my retirement? So you put that money into a brokerage account and say, this is going to supplement my retirement. I'm going to pull income off of this to supplement or to accelerate my retirement or make my retirement that much better.
Right.
And that option typically will leave money to the next generation too, because you're not spending down that entire account. You're just using part of it.
Right.
I'll back up 1 second and talk about debt. It could be that paying off your house is important because that frees up cash flow.
Right.
And again, houses are typically inherited to the next generation. So you're still protecting the asset there.
Yep.
And then after we pay off, or after we either decided to pay off a house and or supplement retirement, then the next what I just call opportunity money. Are there other opportunities that you can do with these funds? Maybe it stays in an invested brokerage account. Maybe you invest in a second home or third home
mm-hmm.
or and pay off a second or third home or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But these are all things that are part of your financial plan to think about. Maybe you top off education accounts.
Yeah.
For grandchildren or children, depending on when parents passed away. Right.
Yeah. But to your point, that does go back to what are the original goals of the plan. And maybe there's some things that we had as, maybe tier 3 things that we hadn't gotten to yet that then you can apply that to. So maybe for some people that is like education accounts or it's the vacation home, like you said.
Yeah.
Or just diversifying. Maybe you have a large stock portfolio, you have a huge amount there. So you want to buy a rental house. Some people don't want to do that. Right.
Yeah.
But
right.
If that's what you want to do, that's an option. So,
and then if you're listening to this and you're not settling or an inheritance or anything, but you're simply thinking about this for yourself, maybe you do some things to help the family now while you're alive and get to see hopefully the thank yous and
Right.
and the benefits of the blessings of what you did. I've had several conversations with clients about that recently. I said, yeah, once you top off, they have great grandchildren. So once you top off like a 529 plan, so we know that they can go to just about any school they're choosing. Right. Or what if you paid for a really big vacation? It's hard to do. Everyone's so busy these days, but what if you paid for 1 week big family vacation, something that some people will remember, it's part of leaving a legacy,
right?
That you did something. If you have an only child, why not start moving as much as you can in assets over each year, not just to supplement their lifestyle, but maybe it's to pay down their mortgage or cover their children's.
Right. Or if you have an estate
education.
Tax potential thing issue.
Well, that's a whole different issue.
Right. But that's where you can start gifting there too.
I have, we have one client that has created a irrevocable trust. And so he moves over the maximum $19,000 every year into this trust per grandchild.
Mm-hmm.
And the trust is set up to benefit the grandchildren in the future. And he named it after himself because he's like 30 years from now, no one's going to know who I am, but my family's going to know who I am because they're going to be pulling money out of this trust in 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just thinking beyond what your current situation is, thinking bigger. And I think that's what we're good at as a firm, is helping people think about the future and what their options are and how do you leave a legacy.
Yeah. I actually had a client who explained it as giving with a warm hand instead of a cold one. And I was like, that is pretty good. Sums that up. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Thank you, William, for putting this together. I guess, you have any final thoughts?
No, I think assembling your team is really important. So if you're in a situation where you don't have a financial plan, but you have this, large windfall coming your way, then assembling a team is probably the most important thing you can do. Obviously, after pausing and not making any big decisions right away, I would say those two things are probably the main keys to this.
I agree. All right. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're interested in learning more about Wiser Wealth Management or want to schedule a consultation to meet with one of our fiduciary financial advisors, you can do so by going to wiserinvestor.com, or you can click in the link in the episode notes. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to a Wiser Retirement podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening. That way you don't miss any new episodes. We'd also appreciate if you could leave a rating and review. If you have any questions about anything that was discussed today, head to wiserinvestor.com and reach out. This podcast is strictly for informational purposes only and is not to be considered as investment advice or solicitation to buy or sell any financial products, securities, digital assets, or any other investment vehicles, or a basis to make any financial decisions. Wiser Wealth Management Incorporated is a registered investor advisor with the SEC. The host and/or guests may personally own securities, digital assets, or other investment vehicles mentioned on this podcast. Neither the host nor guests of the show are compensated for their participation, and no referral fees are paid to or received by any host or guest for clients, listeners, or similar interests. Investments involve risk, and unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor, tax professional, insurance professional, and/or legal professional before implementing any strategy discussed herein. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.